Welcome to The System Works, the lifestyle channel that shows you a practical way to live, the what's in it for you. The System Works. Own it. Welcome to another episode of The System Works. I'm your host, Ernest Phillips, and today's episode is problem-solving solution avoiders. So when I say a solution avoider, these are the people that they have a problem, you have a solution, but they don't want to hear it. They don't want to handle it. They don't want to deal with it. And are these not some of the most fun people in the world? No, they're not. So how do you do this? And the answer is you toddler time them. Okay, so what I mean by that is you let them just take all of their emotion, all of their energy, and just let them peter themselves out. So some context. Look, a problem avoider. You come in, you know they have a problem, you have a genuine solution, and you're trying to tell them, and they're interrupting, and they're relentless. They're changing the topics. They just don't seem to want to hear it. So I'll give you a story. A long time ago, I had a job, and my boss asked me for a report that addressed a variety of issues that were going on. So I did my due diligence. I addressed each one, had it all laid out, very organized, and went to his office. And I'm standing in the hallway / doorway of his office, and I have my manila folder. And so clearly I have what he's asking for. And the first thing he says is, "Do you have my report done?" And I'm thinking, of course, why do you think I'm here? I mean, I just sent you an email that I'm coming up, and here is the solution. So before I can even get into any of the things in my report, he asked me a question about one of the problems in the report, and I'm excited. And I start to give him the answer. And before I can even get partway through the answer, he brings up something that had happened like 4 months ago that had nothing to do with a report. To be honest with you, I thought that was something that had already been resolved to begin with. And so my natural reaction is to try to answer that question. So I start answering that and giving him the follow-up. I don't even get to finish that. He changes and asks another question about what's going on in the report. And so at this point, something shifts inside my head. Something's like, okay, something's not making sense. This doesn't make sense. And what I wanted to say was, hey, if you would like any answers, if you shut up for a little while, maybe you'll get one. But again, this was my boss, and I kind of wanted to keep my job. So once I realized something was off, I started to listen to what he was saying, and he was very emotional, and he just kind of kept going. And so he stopped, and so then I tried to interject, okay, hey, why don't we start from the beginning and address one of the issues? And he paused, and I'm like, all right, cool. And I felt like I'd reset things, and I started to talk again, and boom, he hits me with something else, and I'm thinking, okay, this doesn't make any sense. And then I realized he didn't really want the solution. Now, I don't know why. I don't know what was going on inside him. I don't know what his problem was. I'll be honest. I have no idea. To this day, no idea. But what I did realize is whatever he was doing had nothing to do with the actual issue. And so once I did that, it was like I could start to see the truth of what was going on in slow motion. And I'm picturing him, and he's still talking. I'm not listening to a thing he says. I'm listening to his emotion. And before I know it, I had this picture in my mind of what he really looked like. And he looked like a little toddler that was crying because he didn't want to go to sleep, and he's just cranky, and I just started to let him peter himself out, just literally cry himself to sleep. So I didn't say anything. I just let him go. I just let him keep going. And then he would stop, and he'd wait, and I wouldn't say anything, and then he would jump in as if I'm going to say something, and I'm thinking, oh no, you're over. And what I realized was all of that energy was coming from somewhere, but it had nothing to do with me. So all I had to do was let him get all of that energy out, because every time I asked a question or every time I gave a solution, I was feeding his energy. So the tug tip for this is, when you let your emotions hijack your words, your audience become your hostages. And that's what was happening. He had let his emotions hijack his words, and I was becoming his hostage. So eventually I got to the place where I stopped being his hostage and I let him just finish. And then I waited, and then I very casually took my report and I set it on his desk, and then I left. About an hour later, I get an email saying, "Great job on the report." And I cracked up. And I'm like, it worked. And that was the first time I ever tried it. And I've been using that ever since. So now, the action step for you, and you can do it in your mind, go, okay, it's toddler time. They clearly don't want to know what I have to say. So I'm not going to say anything. I am not going to let them use my energy against me or even against themselves. I'm not going to be your hostage because you're acting like a toddler. Now, again, do not say these words out loud. These are the internal thoughts. So your action step, toddler time, let them just wear themselves out until they take a nap and stop talking. Now, what's in it for you? First of all, it is entertaining as all get out when you're sitting there going, it's toddler time, and they are just going on and they're rambling and they're not making any sense. By the way, this works on a lot of people, but I will also tell you, I'm going to give you guys a warning. Be careful on doing this at work. I don't want you losing your jobs saying, well, Ernest said toddler time, and I don't want you to do that. So start small. Start with something very small and safe. But what's in it for you? The Wi-Fi, you get to relax. You have less effort that you have to do, and then they will stop eventually. Eventually. So I hope you like the episode. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, put your comments. If you try this, please let me know that you tried it and how it happened. It's going to be a lot of fun to hear your reactions. And if you try it and it didn't work, please, I want to know that too. So hit like, subscribe, comment. I want to thank one of my biggest supporters, Metro Studios. If you have looked at the layout of the YouTube channel, they put this together. They're amazing. They do the thumbnails. They do all kind of stuff. Or if you've ever gone to the coaching website at www.evolutionei.com, they put that together. They're amazing. Their website is www.metro-studios.com. So check them out if you have any needs, and we'll see you soon.